Is it actually possible to fix or improve a highline brown hen by crossing her with a Rhode Island red rooster? This is, without a doubt, the single most asked question in my comments section, and it's the exact point where many breeders in their search for independence fall into a massive financial trap without even knowing it. Today we're going to talk about the raw truth of the numbers and the genetics. No filters. We're going to break down why this cross might be the best decision for your backyard, or the absolute worst mistake for your business, depending entirely on your model. I don't want you losing a single cent on feed costs simply because you didn't understand the biological machine inside your birds. Over the years, we have defended genetic sovereignty with everything we've got. I've taught you not to be slaves to the massive industrial hatcheries, and many of you have had roaring success creating your own F1 crosses. Seeing those strong, hardy chicks with that incredible hybrid vigor is a satisfaction only a true breeder knows. But today, we're leveling up. Today, we're separating breeding for passion from egg production at a commercial scale. Because if your goal is to compete in the market, your feelings have to take a backseat to technical efficiency. Let's start by validating the autonomy path. This is where this cross makes perfect sense, and where many of you have found your freedom. When we take a highline brown hen and put a Rhode Island red rooster over her, we are looking to capture that famous hybrid vigor, or heterosis. By joining two genetically distant lines, the resulting offspring often outperform both parents in terms of survival and adaptability. This isn't just some theory. It's a reality we see in global success stories like the ayam joper in Indonesia. In regions like Java, farmers strategically cross high-production industrial layers with local meat-type roosters to get a bird that is tough as nails, has superior meat flavor, and handles a tropical climate better than any laboratory hen ever could. This is what we call a terminal cross, an animal designed specifically for final consumption, not to be the foundation of a permanent breeding line. If you are running a free-range system, this cross is your ultimate strategic ally. Why? Because it inherits the hardiness and foraging instincts of the purebred sire. A pure highline hen is a world-class athlete that requires premium fuel. If you fail to meet her protein requirements for just one day, her production collapses because her body has zero reserves. Everything goes into the egg. But her daughters, the result of that Rhode Island red cross, have a much sharper foraging instinct. They travel further, they hunt for insects aggressively, they consume soil minerals, and they efficiently process garden scraps. If you can get 40% or 50% of their diet directly from the pasture, your production cost drops to levels the industrial giants can never touch. In that small-scale system, it doesn't matter if the hen lays 20 or 30 fewer eggs a year than an industrial bird, because every egg she does lay costs you a fraction of what someone paying for 100% bagged feed is spending. In this scenario, the cross is recommended, it's profitable, and it's the key to not depending on anyone but yourself. You are masterfully turning free resources from your environment into high-quality protein. Let's dive deeper into longevity, because this is a point few people mention. A highline brown hen is designed for a sprint, not a marathon. Her metabolism is so overclocked that after 18 to 20 months of intense laying, the bird is usually physically exhausted. Her calcium reserves are depleted because her body literally pulls the calcium from her own bones to sustain that unnatural production rate. However, when you inject those Rhode Island red genetics, you build a more robust bone structure and superior metabolic stamina. This means that while your F1 cross might not hit 320 eggs in the first year, she is very likely to reach a second and third year with a much more dignified and steady production rate than the pure industrial hen. By the end of 3 years, you might end up with the same total egg count but with a much lower investment in flock replacement. This is what we call long-term amortization, and it is a vital tool for the resilient farmer. But now, we have to be professionals and look at the other side of the coin, where things get serious for your wallet. Let's talk about when your vision grows and you want to scale to 1,000 birds. This is where backyard romanticism crashes headfirst into the reality of modern genetic engineering. You have to understand that a highline brown isn't just a chicken. It is a piece of four-way biological engineering where every single gene has been meticulously selected to eliminate anything that wastes energy. Genetic houses spent over half a century shrinking their body size so they don't waste feed maintaining unnecessary meat, removing the brooding instinct so they never stop laying, and optimizing their digestive tracts to absorb calcium almost perfectly. When you put a Rhode Island red rooster over that hen, you are breaking that extreme specialization. You are reintroducing genes for body weight and heavy bone structure that the industry fought for decades to remove. In a pasture, that extra weight gives you a tough bird that survives the elements. But in a commercial confinement system, where you pay for every single ounce of feed in expensive bags, that becomes a money pit that will bleed your profitability dry. Maintaining a hen that weighs an extra pound or two compared to an industrial bird means you are paying for feed every single day just to keep that extra muscle and bone alive. That is energy the hen consumes just to exist, instead of using it to manufacture eggs. Every extra cent spent on body maintenance is a cent taken directly from your profit margin. This is where every elite breeder must master the concept of the feed conversion ratio, FCR. We don't need to get bogged down in difficult math, just understand the logic. It's the relationship between the amount of feed that goes into the beak and the pounds of eggs she actually deposits in the nest. A commercial highline, under ideal technical conditions, has an incredible FCR sitting at a value close to 2. That means for every 2 pounds of balanced feed she consumes, you get 1 pound of eggs. It is a nearly perfect biological transformation machine. However, when we do backyard crosses or try to backcross to fix the breed, that ratio usually jumps to 2.1, 2.5, or even higher. At first glance, a half-point difference seems like a minor detail. But let's do the professional calculation for a real farm. In a flock of 1,000 hens, that small half-point inefficiency translates into tons of extra feed per year coming straight out of your profits. If your birds are 100% dependent on feed you buy at the store, that extra expense devours your margin before the first egg even hits the market. This is why we say the backcross can be a financial trap. The bird looks majestic, the rooster looks imposing, but the metabolism is inefficient for a large-scale business model. And this brings us to a problem many overlook until their coop is full: the total lack of uniformity. Imagine for a second the operational chaos of having 1,000 hens that aren't the same. In a second-generation flock, the result of genetic segregation, some birds will be large and dominant, while others will be small and timid. This means the strongest birds will eat the best part of the feed, while the weaker ones fall behind. Your feeders will never be balanced, and your health management will become a nightmare. Because the nutritional requirements of a hen laying 300 eggs are not the same as one laying 200. Uniformity equals money, because it allows you to treat the entire flock as one single, efficient unit. When you lose uniformity, because of poor genetic management, you lose your operational peace and your profitability. Think of it this way: the success of your first F1 cross was because the parents' genes combined in an orderly and predictable way. But in the second generation, what scientists call a, quote, random shuffling of alleles occurs. Imagine the genes are a deck of cards that lab geneticists ordered with surgical precision. When you try for the next generation at home, that deck is thrown into the air and picked up completely at random. The result is a chaotic variability that translates into birds that eat like meat birds but lay like backyard mutts. You will lose that 300 egg-a-year sequence that was built into the hybrid, and you will see recessive genetic weaknesses starting to pop up, affecting everything from shell quality to immunity. Many attempt this infinite backcrossing, thinking hybrid vigor is something you can stack or save up generation after generation like a bank account. But technically it doesn't work that way. It's a biological spark, sometimes called a rebound effect, that happens precisely because the lines being crossed have no close relationship. By backcrossing to one of the original lines, you are diluting that spark and returning to a state of lower production efficiency. Trying to reinvent the wheel of a global genetic corporation without a lab's resources is the fastest way to waste time, effort, and a lot of money. Let's talk about the quality of the final product, because here lies a massive market opportunity. An egg from a commercial highline is what we call a commodity. It's a standard product, low price, high volume. But the egg produced by your F1 crosses on pasture is a premium product. The natural diet, the forage, and the outdoor life change the consistency of the whites, the thickness of the shell, and the yolk color in a way the consumer notices instantly. If you know how to brand yourself, you can sell that egg for a much higher price, which more than makes up for the fact that your hen lays fewer units per year. The key to profitability here isn't volume. It's the profit margin per egg sold. I want to be very clear about something that often gets misunderstood. Buying industrial replacement pullets every year is not a failure for the breeder, nor does it mean you've lost your sovereignty. It is a legitimate financial decision. If your farm is your only source of immediate income and you need cash flow to pay your bills, buying laboratory genetics is buying time and security. You are paying for the guarantee that those birds will start producing by week 18 without fail. Not everyone has the luxury of waiting 3 or 4 generations to stabilize their own line. For many, maximum commercial profitability today is achieved by buying the best pullet available and managing her with technical excellence. It's a buy and produce business model that is perfectly valid and very profitable if done right. In fact, if your goal is the absolute maximum egg per feed profitability in a confined system, the industrial pullet is your best choice, and there is no shame in that. So what is the real solution for the breeder who wants independence but also a profit they can actually touch and count? The path isn't playing God with industrial hybrids. It's betting on the purity of high-utility stable breeds, like the Australorp. By working with a pure breed that has been rigorously selected for decades, its genes and alleles are already fixed and ordered. There are no nasty surprises or lotteries here. The chicks hatch looking identical to their parents at a very high percentage and maintain predictable production year after year. I want to make a very important technical clarification here regarding heritage breeds. Many ask me, but don't those breeds lay fewer eggs than the industrial ones? And the short answer is yes. If we measure profitability only by raw volume, the highline wins every time. But for the independent breeder, the maximum profitability of an Australorp or a pure Rhode Island Red doesn't come from volume. It comes from the savings in replacement costs. Your pullets cost you zero because you produce them, from the operational stability of having a uniform flock, and from the ability to access pastured egg markets where the price is much higher. It is a profitability based on low maintenance costs and high product value, not on the massive exploitation of the bird. You are trading volume for stability and independence. We also cannot forget the factor of biosecurity and real environmental adaptation. The industrial hybrid is a technological gem, but it is fragile. Outside of a climate-controlled barn, its immune system suffers. By crossing it with pure breeds, we are contributing vital resistance against local parasites and sharp temperature swings that could decimate a pure industrial flock in an open system. If your area has a tough climate, high humidity, or high altitude, that hardiness inherited from the F1 cross is literally what keeps your birds alive and producing while others would be sick. This resistance reduces your spending on medication and treatments, which is another hidden profit booster. Analyze your environment before you decide which bird to raise. Don't try to drive a Formula One car on a dirt road, and don't try to run a high-speed race with a rugged tractor. The Highline and Rhode Island Red Cross is that rugged tractor, strong, reliable, and excellent for tough terrain where feed is scarce or natural. But on the high-speed track of commercial confinement production, that tractor falls behind and consumes too much fuel for the speed it offers. In conclusion, I want you to take this message away with total clarity. It's not that Highline and Rhode Island Red Crosses are bad or good in themselves. It's about understanding what they are for and at what point they stop being useful. If your project is based on family autonomy, rotational grazing, and resilience against local diseases, keep going with pride. You are building an incredible and very profitable small-scale life system. You are masterfully transforming your environment into high-quality food with minimal investment in external inputs. But if your goal has evolved and you now want to build a commercial enterprise that can scale, where every ounce of feed you buy must yield maximum results, then you must protect the efficiency of your pure commercial lines or buy your replacements every year. Don't try to fix a closed laboratory formula with artisanal methods when the system is confinement and feed dependency, because at the end of the day, the numbers simply won't add up, and you'll end up working for the chickens instead of them working for you. True genetic sovereignty isn't just about having the rooster and the hen in the yard. It's about having the deep technical knowledge to know exactly what to do with them. Master your system. Know your real conversion costs, to the cent. Choose the genetics that allow you to sleep peacefully every night, knowing your farm isn't just a beautiful hobby, but a solid, predictable, and above all, a profitable business. Apply science in your coop. Keep your records with discipline. And never stop learning, because in this world of the elite breeder, accurate information is the best vaccine against bankruptcy. To your success, fellow breeder. Until next time.